You're listening to Fun Oldies 100.9 FM and AM 1450. Welcome to the fastest hour in radio. All About Cars. Brought to you by ABC Motors Prescott with your hosts, David, Don't Call Me Dave Spence, and Big Mike Hill.
You know, Mike, the way you were going here, we're going to have a dancing contest.
I was actually enjoying the music, and I was actually thinking to myself, how many more weeks is Mr. Scott going to have to read the paper before he has that just memorized to be saying it in his sleep?
Man, thank you. Music brought to you by David Spence. Thank you so much for bringing that in, man. I could listen to this all day over and over.
Well, Scott, we heard David's list of top 5 most embarrassing modern-day cars to be seen in.
Right.
Or to be seen driving in. What's your list?
Of cars I wouldn't want to be seen in?
Yeah, top 5 most embarrassing cars for Scott Wild to be seen in.
Man, that's a lot of new cars. I'd have to go with my. It was weird because the Kia Soul, my son, that's his first car he's bought.
The Hamstermobile?
Yeah, the hamster one, and I'm into curves. I like curves. I like lines. I like anything that predates like 1970. Pretty much.
So
after
that's
that,
doing nothing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I hate square cars. The smart cars is. I'd rather, you know what? Why go all the way? Just go ahead and get yourself a golf cart, put a windshield in it, and put a window wiper on it. I don't know. The smart cars are silly, and I'd feel like I would definitely be a dead man if I got in a wreck, if I could fit myself in one of those in the first place.
I could see that.
So you got the Soul, you got the smart car. What's number 3?
That I'd hate to be seen in. Oh, man.
It's not fun to be seen in a hearse, but
Yeah,
even
that's got
better.
to be up there in the top 5 for sure.
But you're generally not embarrassed to be seen in a hearse.
Yeah, at that point,
You're
don't
past
care.
that.
I used to be embarrassed. My grandfather had a Ford Pinto station wagon.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, that was really hard to be seen in. And then my mom had a 69 Chevy Kingswood Impala station wagon. But that one had Krager wheels on it, so it got ramped up a little bit. But when she dropped you off at the movies, I love you, honey, enjoy the movie, beep, beep, and drive away. So that at one point was really hard to be seen.
Mom ruined it for you.
Yeah,
Although,
I can see.
What would you give to get that 69 Impala back?
Actually, I bought it from her for $900, fit 9 of my best friends in there, went out, had a kegger, and tore the bottom out of the whole thing. Knocked a hole in the gas tank, the oil pan, and the transmission pan.
Wow.
And we were like, I was like, man, this is just a bad idea. We should have went back to Hacienda Lake. And so we finally got the car turned around, got into town, went to the courthouse to find out where the parties were going to be. And we found one. So we all jumped back in the car. I backed up, and there's 3 different fluid lines out from under my car. As I back up, I was like, okay, guys, out of my car. Got to go. Party is not even going to get started.
Wow.
Nice.
So,
So you didn't even get to go enjoy the. Did you leave with the keg in your car still?
Yes, I did.
You've got 8 friends that are angry with you.
Oh, that
Still
was
to
20
this
years ago.
day.
Yeah.
And no, they're still angry.
And the reason I say 8 is because you said you had 9 in the car with you, and one of the guys got to go home with you to hang out. I know this.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to get the full keg out of my car by myself.
There you go. I know how this works. And you didn't even have a leak. You had your buddy pour some oil down the side of the engine when no one was looking. That's a pretty good setup here.
You guys have to call a cab. We got to go by.
So he came up with 4, not 5.
4, and then, 5th one, man, I don't know. I'd have to put some more thought into it.
Oldsmobile station wagon?
No, love that car.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
seen that all over the
maybe
place.
a Gremlin. Or did you like Gremlins?
No, I know what? Actually, AMC Pacer, my friend Brian had one, and it was this like green, dark green. I didn't like going to school with him in that car either.
Okay, so there's a 5th. AMC Pacer did look a little bit like a fishbowl.
Yeah.
A little bit. But they did have a lot of torque. They were kind of a really cool car.
In a weird way, I could see where you'd say that. When they came out, they actually sold really well for a little bit.
You know what car, other than the ones we've discussed? Obviously, I don't mind the Gremlin. I like the Gremlin. The Pinto, I've had Pintos. Nothing really bothers me anymore, except for driving ironic cars, or not even ironic. I'm not even sure the word. Smart car, it's not smart.
No, that's what that's.
It doesn't perform right. It doesn't look right. It's not comfortable. It's nothing except for high density parking, and I don't drive cars to park them.
Yeah, but that's the only reason I could actually see why would somebody want that is because you have no room to park.
Right.
Correct. The only other one that I would really be embarrassed about would be a Prius.
Oh, I can see that.
And
My wife hates that.
And
one.
the reason that I don't like the Prius is not the Prius's fault. It is the fault of the people that spout off about what a great car this is for the environment. The carbon footprint of a Prius is worse than any other car in its class. And I'm not talking about hybrids.
Right.
I'm talking about every other car. You go by the Buick you're driving,
Yeah.
it has a much smaller footprint. The amount of pollution created to make the batteries alone for the Prius,
Oh, man.
it's incredible. And then you look at the fact that California even took the Prius off the HOV permission lane. You know, there's certain hybrids that are allowed in the HOV lane just because they're hybrids.
Yeah.
They took the Prius off because it is not environmentally friendly like they claim.
Well,
So
that's not a nice thing. But you're right, Mike. That's the unfortunate thing. It's not that the car isn't functional. It's not that the car doesn't fulfill what people want it to fulfill, and it's not that the car is god awful ugly. It's nothing like that.
no, it's just not what it's purported to be.
I know.
So the other thing I was going to ask you, David, now that we got past our list, because I
Yeah.
thought the list would be interesting. Next week, I want you to bring the actual list in for what other people think.
Okay.
But we were having a conversation about locating parts and restoration supplies.
Yeah.
And you said, Mike, I'll bring some information in for you. What do you got?
Well, what I got here is something. These are not sponsors, people. That doesn't mean they aren't good people. They're just not sponsors. They happen to be a really neat company called the Restoration Supply Company. And they just, of all things, amazing in this day and age, put out a 2014 really fancy catalog. But you can go on the web at www.restorationstuff.com. And this is the place you're going to find everything that, yeah, if you're doing a really old car, they're going to have all this stuff for that. But let's say you're doing a newer car and you want to have a piece of Delrin, for example, machine a small part out of, and you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money for it. These guys will cut off like an inch or two, and that's all you might need. Great place to get stuff like that. Great place to get brass, stainless steel screws, specialty fasteners of all different types, certain types of wire, switches, light bulbs. I mean, they've got just all kinds of stuff. So if you're doing anything for an older car or even a new car where you need a small amount to machine or make a specialty part, this is a place you want to go. Reasonable prices, great service, and as I said, www.restorationstuff.com. It's the Restoration Supply Company, and they have tons of stuff that you can use. About 90 pages worth of stuff in there?
Yeah, I think.
Amazing number of things that you can actually find in that. It's probably the best catalog I know of in the country for those unique little items or raw materials that you need to make the part for your special project. So doing a restoration, doing a hot rod, this is a company you actually want to know about.
That's pretty cool. I'm looking through this for the first time. There's all kinds of replica stuff. There's emblems, decals, locks, latches, fasteners, speedometer ends. I mean,
yeah, and if you need to make a trunk, for example, even if you weren't doing something for a car, you wanted to make or repair an old trunk, they've got every single thing for an old trunk in that.
hey, David, they've got slotted head stainless steel Philister-headed screws.
Yes, they do.
I know a guy that needed those for his Marvel carburetor.
You're right, and that's where I ultimately ended up getting them.
They do carpet, tacks. So even for the old stuff that's still wood inside, or the flooring's done in wood,
Or
got the upholstery tacks and.
Oh, yeah, or you want to get a halogen light bulb that fits an old-style headlight.
Nice.
You'll actually find them in here. You also, I see here on that specialty lubricant page, you can get all the lubricants. When you read in the lubricant in a lot of these old collector cars that people have got, like 70 and earlier, which is a ton in this town, aren't there, or in this general area. This is the place that's going to have the lubricant that you say, well, I can't buy that. Well, yes, you can. You can actually buy it from this company.
I want to know how much zinc's in it.
Oh, we're going to do the ZDP.
Now I got to ask Scott, do you know what Delron is since he mentioned it?
No clue.
Would you like to?
I would like to know.
David, can you explain to Mr. Scott what Delron is?
Okay, well, Delrin happens to be a certain type of plastic that's sort of slippery that's used for a number of parts on cars. And sometimes, particularly even on newer cars, the little plastic parts break that you get from the factory. Well, you can buy the raw material from these people and actually make the replica part that I guarantee you cannot buy at times. You literally can't. One of the reasons people's modern power windows will fail is a little plastic part made out of nylon or Delrin. And here you could buy the actual raw material and make it. So if you can't get your part, you can fix it anyway.
You know what else is cool, David? We were talking about that Marvel carburetor of yours. They don't make the float that goes in your carburetor. They have the D float and the L float, but not that squarish, weirdish one.
Yeah, they don't actually, but they have material that you're looking at.
I'm looking at, they have cork block and they have the nitrofill material for making your own floats.
Yeah.
Which is really, really pretty cool. And we'll have to discuss that more next week, maybe when we start talking about floats.
Yeah, we should. What I'd like to do is really explain to people on the radio how easy it is to make a float for your carburetor, because the reality is that so many old carbs have floats that have failed. Sometimes you can repair them, but if you can't repair them, there is an easy way to make the stuff. And as we've just been talking, this is the company that has the material to start with.
Real quick, Scott. Prescott
Yes.
Valley Raceway, are they racing tonight?
They are racing tonight. And what do we got tonight? We got Outlaw Dwarf Cars, IMCA mods, mini stocks, and they've added hobbies.
Nice.
But I won't be racing. No points in it for me.
I really, really like watching the dwarfs.
They're the greatest. I can't. That's my next step. When I can afford one, that's where I'm going. And real quick update: how many cars can the Morgan Car Company produce per year? It says 14 per day. So I don't
14
know.
per day.
That's a lot.
At the end of
At
that
hand
paragraph,
mill.
it says according to Wiki. So I got to
Nice.
do some more research, but maybe 14 a day.
Next week we'll have that. And I'll tell you, my favorite thing about dwarf racing is when they have to jump over the hurdles. That's the part I like best.
All right.
You're listening to All About Cars on 100.9 FM, 1450 AM, brought to you by ABC Motors Prescott.